Really?
It's adorable. Hey, everyone, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. My guest today is Dr. Otto Janke. He has a wonderful podcast called Empire Longevity, which is the name of his practice. He actually had me on his podcast, as long as some of my favorite guests, like Dr. Colin Campbell and Dr. Alan Goldhammer. I'm getting a strap showing today. Now I'm having a wardrobe emergency. Please welcome the show. And we both wore black for the occasion. Dr. Otto Janke, it's so nice to meet you. I'd love to hear, we travel, kind of in concentric circles, not in the same circles. And you were kind enough to contact me for your podcast. And I said, well, why don't you come on mine? But maybe my viewers are unfamiliar with you and your work. So who are you? What do you do? And why do you do it?
Why I do it very, very simply is that you and I both know that our healthcare system it's broken at best. COVID has opened up some dramatic eyes to us. And one is that if you're over the age of 54, let's be straight about this. Your health time is short. And I call it no longer do we have the greatest generation. Now we have the disposable generation, which is just, we're being pushed aside. And you and I both know that our health starts decades previously. If we want to take the biggest steps forward, these are small things we got to do along the way. And my practice now is focused tremendously on how we can build you to be better for decades to come.
Well, did you have any health challenges yourself or anything to get you interested in this? Sometimes people come to it for that reason.
I wouldn't say outwardly that I had like a cancer or anything like that, or lymphomas, leukemias, or anything like that. I've had a father die of cardiovascular disease. A mother died of idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. And I will tell you that in the last 2 months of her life, that she pulled me aside and she gave me what we call the Pope's wave, like that. She pulled me up to her, and she had a struggle. She had idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. What that means is idiopathic, we don't know, pulmonary lung fibrosis, scar tissue. So the inside of her lungs were turned into a scar tissue. It's one of the most worst diseases you watch, because you watch someone slowly suffocate for 2 years. And she pulled me aside, and she said, I want you to call the priest. And so I said, are we on a calendar or a stopwatch here? She said, call the priest. And AJ, she walked from 15 steps over there, and she had to stop twice, and she was panting as if she just ran 10 miles. And so I said, okay, I'll do that. And then she said to me, and it's the 6 words that 6 words changed my life. The 6 words were that without your health, you have nothing. And so that stopped me in my tracks. It took me a couple of years to process both my parents passing, but then I really found out what my beacon was, and I decided we're going to dedicate our next decades to your next best decades.
Nice. Wait, and do you personally follow a plant-based diet?
So I grew up on meat and potatoes. I'm a country boy from upstate New York. Grew up on meat and potatoes, and I knew it was a struggle for me to get to here. And so I had to find it. I said, how can I possibly be around my best and, quite frankly, not die like an American? How can I not die like an American? And so, we have to find books like this from our friend Caldwell Esselstyn. And this should be a mandatory reading for everybody who's going to eat food in America. And every nutritionist should have this on there. And if I'm not going to die like an American, then how can we get together and decrease cardiovascular disease and decrease cancer? And so I had to go look around. And so I went to one of my friends and I said, can you help me do this? And he said, yeah, absolutely no problem. I said, what am I going to do? And he says, let me see what you eat now. Okay. He said, well, this is what you're going to eat now. I said, yeah, but it's always that yeah, but what about? He said, no, just start eating this stuff. And so I went plant-based probably about 4 or 5 years ago. I have never looked back. If you watch me in the gym, you're not going to be worried about me getting enough protein or becoming scrawny or anything like that. If you want to get a bigger muscle, you got to push the muscle. And so I've been a plant-based eater, and it's been fun. It's been exciting. They have this area in the grocery store. Perhaps you've seen it, AJ. It's called the produce section. It's really quite nice. It's really quite nice out there. And so I've had to introduce myself to that. And the biggest thing I've had to introduce myself to is new spices. And I love spices, and it's been absolutely exciting to learn them and learn how to cook with them.
Wow. Susanna says she loves what you said. How can I not die like an American? Well, the thing is, if you eat like an American, you're going to die like an American, right?
Absolutely. It is. If once again, so we're going to follow this book, and then we want to find out what people do around the world. Is we're going to find out what Dan Binder says of the blue zones. And if we're going to follow stuff, if we already want to learn how to live longer, and I don't want you to live longer. I want you to be rocking for decades to come. I don't want you to live to 100. I want you to rock into 100. And if we want to do that, then we got to follow the people who are already doing that. And there are cultures around America, around the world, who already do that. And we should follow them. It's not that hard to do whatsoever. It's not hard to do.
Wow. How long ago was this when you made the change?
So I'm going to say 4 or 5 years ago, but it's been really the last 3 years has been dedicated to it. I didn't know what to do. I'm going to tell you truthfully, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do because I didn't know how to eat. I didn't know how to shop. I didn't know how to not eat all this other stuff. And when you have pressures, especially, I'm from cow country, and I'm from farm country, and people will say to you often, they say, what do you do? How do you eat? How do you do this? What, but aren't you hungry? Aren't you hungry? Aren't you hungry? And I went back to the same rules that Caldwell Esselstyn says, or T. Colin Campbell says. Here's the produce. Eat as much as eat all of it if you want to. Your body naturally tells you when you're hungry and when to stop. And so don't fool yourself. And so you can eat all the stuff in the produce section, all of it. You want to eat all of it one time? You're not going to, because your body's going to say, I'm good. And that's been the biggest changes. And I will tell you that probably about 3 or 4 years ago, I was diagnosed with AFib, and I thought I was having a heart attack, to tell you the truth. And so I went to my MD, and they strapped me up and did a test, and they said, you have AFib. And so before my shirt was even on, they had a prescription ready waiting for me. And I said, what's that for? And they said, that's a prescription. I said, and I already knew what they were going to give me. I said, well, I'm not going to fill that. And they said, what are you nuts? I said, no. I said, and the sentence I said to them, I may have said it in Latin because they don't understand what I was saying. I said, I made the disease, I'll create the cure. And they looked at me and they said, what the heck are you talking about? And so I dove into plant-based. I exercised differently, got my stress levels under, and I no longer have that problem. And so it's one of those things where, it took me to be bad to find out how good I could get. And so,
what was your first foray? Was it that book that you held up, or was it a documentary? Was it something someone said?
The very first time, thank you for that. The very first time, probably about 28 years ago, I was watching on VHS tape, tells you how long ago it was. I was watching John Robbins' Diet for a New America. And so I decided to, at that time, was eat. I didn't want to eat the way I was doing anymore. I knew I had to change then. And so I decided to order 2 sets of chicken wings along with fries and all the sauces and everything. And I didn't stop eating them until I was viscerally ill. And I kept on eating. And then I went, whoa. Sometimes it takes me that type of hit up beside the head to do that. And so I did that, and that was it. Having watched that Diet for a New America back in the early 90s or something like that, and how it shows you what happens to the blood around your heart after you eat this way, what happens to you. And that started me on the whole program right then.
That's great. Were you able to inspire any of your family's friends or patients to do the same?
So one of the things we do is on Empire Longevity. So on our Facebook page is called the Empire Longevity Insiders. I post different recipes for them. And I tell them, this is the stuff I eat, and I eat this way, and they start to follow that. And, one of the biggest questions they ask me is, how do you do this? What about this? How do you get around it? And I tell them that I love tastes and I love textures. And so they start to follow me and start to do that. And the latest ones I've started to do because of Caldwell Esselstyn is I'm going oil free, which is, AJ, you and I both know, sugar and oil is everywhere. And it's just hard to get around that stuff. Oils are everywhere. And so that's been my next foray into eating.
Nice. That's fantastic. When did you start your podcast and why? Do you enjoy podcasting?
I do. I'm an entertainer at heart. And this wasn't my first podcast. I've failed at other podcasts previously. But podcasting is not hard for me to do. The production part's not hard for me to do. And I did a podcast last night. I'll do another podcast tonight before I go on the road with the team. And I'll pump out 4 podcasts a week and produce them and everything. It's fun. It also makes me learn stuff. And I'm a voracious reader also. And I spend we call the daily momentum. I spend 15 to 30 minutes every single day dedicated to more education about what I know and love.
Yeah. People are asking if they wanted to follow you. Do you have a presence on social media, Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or anything like that?
So on Facebook, it's Empire Longevity Insiders. When you get there, to tell you the truth, you're going to have to answer 3 questions only because we don't want bots on there. But you can find me there. You'll also find Otto Janke on there also. That's me. I will lead you to one or the other sooner or later. Instagram, not so much, only because it's more work than I have time to put into. YouTube, also, I love YouTube. So we're on there a bunch. And that's about it for those.
All right, I'll see if I can capture those links and put them in the show notes.
Sure.
And you have a private practice. Can people see you in person, and where is that?
You can see me in practice. I'm a doctor of chiropractic, and we see. I'll tell you about my best week in practice. My best week in practice started with, and he just passed. So it's this one's a tough one, but he's an old farm boy, and he's got a baseball mitt for a hand, and he could fix everything out of everything with a string and duct tape. But he was in my practice one very early morning on a Monday, and as he was just slumped over like this, and I said, well, what's going on today? And he told me that his wife had passed, and well, we knew she had been sick for a while, but it's always hard and shocking when someone does pass. And he said, I'm going to need your help this week, Doc. And I said, I understand that. So gave him a big hug, took care of him, and I went back to my office and I cried. But then later in the week, a mother came in with her 1-day-old baby and said, and she'd been in my care for all during her pregnancy. But she came in and said, I want you to check my child. And so beginning of the week, we had someone pass. Then at the end of the week, we had a newborn come in, and that's my practice. I'm here to help people be as healthy as possible for the next number of decades. And it's in Cortland, New York, which is the home of Brockway Trucks, Smith Corona Typewriters, both companies who left town, Ronnie James Dio, one of the best rock metal singers of all time, and me. That's what we're going to say is.
What kind of chiropractic do you practice? Because I didn't realize this until once I went to one and it was different than what Dr. Goldhammer did. It seems like There's 2 schools, right? Is that correct? 2 different schools of chiropractic thinking?
Well, there's a number of different styles of chiropractic, many different styles. So I used to send all of my young patients to a specific doc, a chiropractor who took care of young kids until I got certified. And then pregnant women. Some people only see pregnant women. My practice is focused on probably about the 40s and on, because I find that those people have the healthcare for those generations is probably the worst, because it's all it's all about treating the symptom and not helping people be healthier. And so we guide them all that way. But yeah, there's many different styles. As I say, AJ, you can't build a house just with a hammer. You're going to need a whole bunch of tools.
Well, how did you familiarize yourself with Dr. Goldhammer? Because I know that you had him on your podcast right before me.
He's a funny guy, isn't he?
He's hilarious. He should be a stand-up comedian, let me tell you.
He's how did I find him? YouTube. I was looking for people who thought this way. I look for those same hot names or hot topics. I look for them, and he came up, and I was like, wow. And I'm always intrigued when I find people who don't necessarily think the same way, but they think in a familiar way as I do. Like, well, where'd they come from? What do they listen to? Who do they talk to? Same way I found you is you had these people on yours. I was like, I got to talk to her. So I can learn from you also. And so Goldhammer was fantastic. And what he does with water fasting and the ability for people, literally, as he says, they come in with these problems and they leave without those problems. It's astounding. And I've gone through many water fasts, and I find it just great. And I do it on a regular basis.
Really? How often? And you self-supervise?
Self-supervise. I'm really great at knowing my body and understanding what I have. And, I'll tell you my one big addiction is coffee. I love coffee. I'm slowly weaning myself off that. I like coffee, but I realize I like the buzz of caffeine. So I understand that when I go on my water fast, that I will go through 2 days of right back here in the back of my head, I'll have the muscle tension from the detox. And I like seeing that because it tells me I'm detoxing. Awesome. I come on the other side of that. And if you haven't done a fast, day one is the screaming meanies, which is all your small addictions, the sugars or the dairy or whatever you're using, whichever you got. That's your body going, hey, we've got an addiction. We've got an addiction. Day two, you're going like, not so bad. By day three, you're thinking to yourself, I may never eat again. And I feel awesome. I've done 5 and 7 day fasts, and it's not that hard. Once you get past, it's all mental of the first day one or day two. But besides that, I enjoy it. And I think it's a great reboot for people also.
That's terrific. So when do you think people should seek chiropractic care as opposed to, say, a medical doctor or a naturopath?
I see people because they want to be as healthy as possible without medications or surgeries. And so they come to me specifically for those reasons. They come to me specifically because I'm going to offer them great advice on nutrition, on motion, on sleep, on getting as healthy as possible for the next number of decades, knowing that if your nervous system is optimized, if your frame is optimized, you have an opportunity to be optimized. And one of the few things we do in my office, and this is a very unique thing, is this is called heart rate variability. And so there are apps that, or if you have a smartwatch or you have one of those Oura rings, it does that. It gets your heart rate variability. You, as a person in America, anytime you see any kind of healthcare practitioner, they're going to check your heart rate variability. And it's the easiest way to see how your nervous system, how your body can adapt. And you can imagine it's been the last 5.5 years, Americans haven't been adapting well, and we've been in a massive fight or flight. And that just makes you not work correctly. And I've seen it get worse in the last 2 years. And that's very, very concerning. So I see people because they want their immune systems to be stronger. And we've been publishing that also.
Oh, neat. And there's a question from Monarch. Would chiropractic help somebody who's recovering from double knee surgery?
So that's a great question. And so as you can imagine, I work in America and we see people post surgeries all the time. And our biggest problem is that even if they have one or both of the knees or hips having surgery, there will be a time of adaptation and getting used to having those new limbs, and that their body's not going to be functioning correctly for a while. My job is to get you built as well as possible, hopefully beforehand, but afterwards to get you aligned as well as possible so that you function better all the time. I see people like that all the time, especially, I mean, the number of people, when I first started practice 30 years ago, there was, once every now and then there was a trauma that someone had a knee replacement. Now you have people having knee replacements and hips left and right. It's rather miraculous how it's done. But we see those people all the time. And my biggest concern is not the 2-3 months afterwards. It's really the year afterwards, the 2 years afterwards, as you start to adapt, because invariably, and it's going to be you're going to have a super talented surgeon, but there will be a discrepancy in leg length along the way. We need to find that out so you don't adapt your life to that. We help you to adapt to a better you.
Well, that sounds, I haven't found a chiropractor in 3 years since I moved from LA because I'm very picky. Because once you've been treated by Dr. Goldhammer, you won't just take anybody.
It's like having mama's home cooking. It's once you have mama's dishes or whatever it is, if you have it someplace else, it's just not the same. Absolutely. I refer people to other chiropractors around America, but it's never the same.
Nice. Do you get chiropractic yourself? Because you can't really treat yourself, can you?
Nope, you can't. And I see two or three chiropractors. I call my GC, my general chiropractor, who takes care of me on a regular basis. Then I have 1 or 2 specific ones who might help me with, for instance, I've had a chronic sports injury since I used to be a hot shot little wrestler when I was 12, and I got slammed when I was 12. And I don't want to sound bitter, but I lost that match by 1 point. I don't want to be bitter about it, but I lost that. And so my left shoulder didn't work correctly for years until I found another chiropractor. I found a chiropractor who helped me. And so I see a chiropractor to get tuned up on a regular basis with or without any kind of aches or pains. My job is with the exercising I do, I'm going to have aches and pains. And the way I like to live, I'm going to have aches and pains. So it's not a matter if I'm in aches or pains, it's a matter of how well I can function. And I function very, very well, but I see a lot of people. I mean, I see energy practitioners, I see nutritionists, I see people who are going to help guide me to be, again, around for the next number of decades rocking.
What kind of exercise do you do?
I like to lift weights because I like the buzz. I want to let your followers know that I'm never going to reach the level of a Mr. America or Mr. Olympia. I'm not going to be a bodybuilder of any kind. But I lift because I love the buzz of lifting and the endorphin rush that goes along with that. So I will do yoga. I will just stretch. One of our daily things is we stretch in our office for 10 minutes. If you happen to be here for that, you're going to be stretching with us for 10 minutes. But we do this all the time. I lift, I swim, I run. I try everything and anything because that's what the healthiest people on earth do. That's what all our, if we're going to look at what can we do it all. And so I enjoy it. Again, I do it. I don't do it because I'm going to get, buff body. I do it because I enjoy the buzz.
Well, tell me what you eat in a day.
So what I love to eat, first of all, I start off with water, 2 big glasses of water first thing in the morning. And I will intermittent fast until noon. From noon, I'll have lunch. Right now, because we are in my favorite season of the year, which is soup and stew season. I love soups and stews. So I will make 2-3 stews soups on a Sunday. Nothing's hard. I mean, it's all fresh stuff and it's simple. Toughest part, of course, is just the chopping. But then taking all that, and I'll have 2 or 3 stews I can choose from during the week, and the easy stuff that you can make. And I eat that on a regular basis, and then I'm good for the rest of the day. I eat once or twice a day, and that's it.
Well, you gave 2 of your favorite recipes that we put in the show notes: a healing winter soup and a chana masala.
I got to tell you that the chana masala one is so thick and delicious. And it's just, it's how they talk about comfort foods in America, and comfort foods are really just foods that are going to slow you down, are going to make you not digest well. You're not going to sleep well. This is absolutely the most delicious kind of satisfying foods. And I love that. And I didn't know what garam masala, I didn't know what that even was until like 2-3 years ago, until I found this recipe. I didn't know what it was. And coriander curry, cumin. I'm buying that stuff now by bulk. If you had told me 10 years ago that I was going to be buying the stuff by bulk, I would have said, get the heck out of town. But I'm buying that stuff now and I enjoy it. It is so good. And that one recipe is so good. And the Healing Winter one, I really pump up the garlics and the onions because those are just massively important for our immune systems. And again, none of them are difficult. They're not difficult. If they were difficult, I wouldn't be able to do them.
Do you ever use the Instant Pot?
I don't. I don't know why I don't, but I don't. I just haven't yet. Not yet. Maybe this year.
All right. Well, because it's a time saver. It really is. I don't know if this is a question you'd want to answer. I could help if you don't. I'm a high school senior about to graduate, and I really would love to do something with plant-based in my career. It would be a dream to help work for a plant-based doctor with anything. I'm about to start a YouTube channel to help others with this lifestyle. Any advice? I would say intern, because I know that Dr. Goldhammer has interns. Do you ever use interns?
So we have interns that come into my office on their way to chiropractic college, and we're starting one. Today's the 19th. She'll probably start with us next week. But they go through a curriculum in my office specifically geared towards chiropractic college. But if you want to do that, what I would recommend you start doing is you start looking at different sites, different YouTube channels themselves, find the ones that you like. And here's the reality about YouTube is copy them as much as possible, but put your own spin on it and take that stuff, the information. And what I do for all the interns who come into my office, I tell them you have to carry a bazooka with you, but it's a bazooka of information, bazooka of nutritional information. And you're carry that around with you. And every place you go, you got this bazooka, you got this whole library of information you're going to have. It's fantastic. And I stopped using opinions. I'm going to show you what the research says. I'm going to show you what the science says. I'm going to show you how your body, your physiology works when you're plant-based. When you start coming at that and start telling me that you can look at, if you can start telling people, listen, this book, when you start eating this way, you prevent and reverse heart disease. And then you say this, next question, please. Because we die of that in astronomical numbers in America. We die of that in astronomical numbers. And here's the reality. It's stupid. It's stupid why we die like that in astronomical numbers. But start with it and dedicate 30 minutes a day, minimum 30 minutes a day of doing that. The great Brian Tracy said, if you dedicate 30 minutes a day to something that you have an interest and love in, within 3 years, you become the leader in that profession.
Yeah, that makes sense. Question, how far do you run daily?
So I'm gonna change the distance on a regular basis, because some days I may go for steep walks. If I get outside and do that, it's like 30, AJ, you would cry today. It's 39 degrees out here today, which is not cold by any means. It's actually a warm day for us today. But I'll bundle up and go for walks at it's any time of any weather. But I will go for a 5K run, or I'll go for a steep walk for about a mile and a half. Steep fast walk. I do that. I changed it up because I think one of the worst things you can do is go to a gym and be on a treadmill for 20 minutes every single day. Your body doesn't adapt. Your body's already adapted to that years ago, and it doesn't challenge you. So it's simple to do, but you just change it up.
Cool. Susanna says, can you please share a success story of a patient of yours who got their health back through nutrition?
Well, me, I'll start off with me alone, is that if I had followed the path of what my MD wanted, I'd still be on that medication. And that medication then leads to you not thinking as fast, and it just slows you down. And I can't afford that. I've only got 41 more great years left. That's all I have. I've got stuff to do. And so by eating this way, I have taken myself out of the opportunity for AFib, which you can see on TV, all of the commercials for that. So myself alone, and it's I have to be an example of what I talk about. And so we start right there. And now we have on a regular basis, we lead, coach, educate people into this. And I don't start with the education. I start with recipes. I start with the recipes. I introduce people to the recipes, and then they say, wow, that's kind of neat. And I say, yeah, if that's neat, now follow this. And I'll be truthful. I don't care why you get into it. I want you to get into it though.
Wow, that's very cool. So Angela says, Dr. Otto is speaking my language, changing up the exercise. I'm guilty of that. Of not doing that. I do the same thing every day. And I know that's not optimal, but I think it's better than doing nothing.
It's here. I'd much rather have you do something. A couple of years ago, 20 years ago, I went back and took swimming lessons again. And the very first day I got there, I had like my beach board shorts on, and I didn't know what I was doing. I went with my beach board shorts, and I started I was told you have to go meet this man. So I met this man at 6 o'clock in the morning at the local pool, and he said, "Jump in the water. Let me see what you got." And I swam down halfway back, and I stopped, and I was absolutely gassed. And he said, "Hey, you don't know how to breathe." I also, I had, parachutes on. With these board shorts were terrible things to wear. But I became a really, really good swimmer, swimming all 4 strokes. And I enjoy that. I enjoy pushing myself like that. And it's not always easy. But once again, I don't do it because I'm going to have, I'm never going to be on the cover of GQ. No, I'm not worried about that. I keep on coming second for the sexiest man in America. The last 10 years, I've been second in that. And they never talk about that whatsoever. I'm always second.
That's hilarious. Have you done stand-up? You seem like you'd be good at it.
No, I've been asked to sit down many times though.
Oh, that's funny. So I don't know if you have a family. I assume you're married or have kids. I'm not sure. But if you do they follow your healthy way of eating and living?
So I have my wife, and we have a greyhound. The greyhound does not. My wife, we've moved her towards. She used to be way over there, and now we're moving. The biggest problem she has is I use a lot of spices, which don't always agree with her. But so I cook differently for her also. I will cook without some spices, which don't always agree with her. So yeah, we're moving more people. I have family members who do. I have a lot of friends who say, "That's what you do?" And I say, yeah. Once again, I'm not going to bash you in the head. I'm going to be an example of what to do. And I'm not going to tell you, listen, I'm going to show you. Let me show you what I do. Let me tell you at the age of 59, how many medications I'm on. Let me tell you at the age of 59, what I've reversed in my own health. At the age of 59, let me show you what else I can do. At the age of 59, let me show you the other business I'm starting because of my energy levels and because I'm always thinking, let's go. Let me show you that way. Then people say, oh, okay. What do you got?
Nice. Do you have a lot of people I'm not sure exactly what city you're living in. Is there a large plant-based community there at all?
No. There's a larger, it's getting bigger because, well, here's the reality, AJ, is that if we look at America will be plant-based, back to being plant-based, if not in a little bit by a majority. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when, because a couple of things. One is the cost of watering and feeding animals. Is if we want to feed everybody, then we're going to have to plant more plants and they have much more easy accessibility to the plants. But that means that we aren't going to be feeding those animals the acreage that we could be having. That's the first thing. Second of all is the prices for that stuff has gone out of control. Third of all, we know that if you want the biggest bang for your buck, it's not even close, is in a plant. And so this is not a matter of if. We're seeing a generation or two behind us. That generation is moving much more quicker towards a plant-based diet than the old guys of me have. They're learning that and they're already adopting that. And so we really just need to stoke that with them. They're our future, and we need them to be as healthy as possible for it to come. So do I in my area? No. It's getting bigger. It's not huge by any means.
Wow. Well, maybe you can change that. Colleen says you look like John Travolta. Have people told you that?
Colleen said that.
Yeah.
Colleen might need to see her eye doctor on the way home from where she is right now.
But I can see that a little bit. Really? I think a little bit.
She might need to wipe off the screen right there.
Wow. Well, she thinks you're good looking.
Well, thank you much.
Okay. Well, you're funny. So tell me, like, it's different when you do a podcast, it's pre-recorded, whereas like I'm doing live. So do you have any funny stories of things that have gone wrong? I have a few on this show, but I tend not to want to repeat them.
I would tell you that, so we see a lot of young boys and girls, and we had a young girl who, 5 weeks old, came into my practice. And she was in, I won't say distress, but she was in obvious discomfort. And she had been super antibiotic dosed because she had an infection. And they had to get the infection before it became systemic and wrecked her whole body at the age of 3 or 4 weeks. But because of that, her digestion was just bad. It was bad. And so the mom and dad brought her into me, and I see a lot of kids like that. I'm actually called the poop whisperer. I know it's not a great thing, but I'm a poop whisperer. I help people to go to the bathroom, ironically. And
that's funny.
So this young girl comes in, and she's 5 weeks old. The mom and dad give her to me. I adjusted the very first day, super gentle, super easy, and she relaxed. They said on the way home, she emptied out her house. I mean, she emptied out herself into the diaper. Next day she comes in, I adjust her, and she poops on me. And that's what happens in the practice. And you applaud it and you say, congratulations. Not a great story, but that's happens in my practice on a regular basis. And
that's very cool. I mean, I've heard of like pelvic floor physical therapy for help with constipation, but I didn't realize chiropractic can do that. Do you do the kind of adjustments like that are like where I've seen like there's a table and it kind of drops, and then there's the kind where you're kind of.
So I use the one that drops because we see a lot of people, and that actually allows me to have a mechanical advantage over the person. I use very little force. And having seen hundreds of thousands of people come through our doors, it's taken a toll on me. And so I need to find some way to be much more precise and gentle, and still be able to get the results we want to.
Nice. And so the youngest patient you'd see is like 1 day old, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Youngest one I've seen is actually in utero. We see a lot of pregnant moms. And they, if we can get you adjusted, there's a technique called the Webster technique in chiropractic. If we can get you adjusted and get you aligned better, you have a better birth. And that's our whole goal, is get the baby to do the baby gymnastics, so they're down, head side down and ready to rock. And that's the coolest thing.
Well, people are saying John Travolta, if you had hair.
See. Yeah.
Put a hat on and we'll see if you really do look like him. Somebody's asking how much water a day you drink.
I start, so one of my goals for my daily momentum is a gallon a day. And I don't hit that every day, but I come close a lot of days. Does that mean that I run to the bathroom a lot? Yep. But if we as Americans are chronically dehydrated, and it seems that the older we get, the more dehydrated we become. Knowing that we are a water-based species, 70% of our body is water-based. If you're on any medications, the medications don't work as well if you are dehydrated. Your brain doesn't work as well if you're dehydrated. Digestion, your immune system, you're not as flexible. You don't sleep as well. So one of the simplest things you can do, absolutely simple thing you can do, is make sure you get adequate water a day. And so for me, it's a gallon. I drink 3 bottles, 4 bottles of these a day, and it's no time. Boom, 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 boom. I have 2 big glasses before I come to work, as soon as I get out of bed in the morning. You talk about one of the simple things you can do, simple and reasonable. I love simple, reasonable, and I love simple, reasonable, and inexpensive. That's one of the best things you can do.
So apparently John Travolta recently shaved his head, and I just pulled a picture of him up, and I have it side by side with you, and you do look like him. You have to look at his knees.
I would make a little assumption that he probably dances better than I do.
Oh, cool. Do you sing?
Not well,
Not well.
but I sing.
All right, here's a question. I just saw it. I have from Debbie. I have fibro and lupus. I eat whole food plant-based. I don't eat gluten. I'm 66, very active, and have been since high school. Huge walker, strength train, and do yoga. Recently, I've been experiencing a lot of leg pain, muscle, and stiffness. Is this normal aging, or could I be eating something that my body is reacting to?
So I hate the idea of normal aging. I don't like that idea whatsoever, because that's not. First of all, and I can't diagnose you of anything, but if someone came into my office, or if that was me, I would say I undoubtedly have some autoimmune syndromes going on. Fibro is autoimmune. So undoubtedly there's a misconnection. There's a disconnection in your nervous system. You have a bad cell phone call going on inside you. And so one of the very first things I do in my office, I do this testing with you. I do the nervous system testing with you to find out, are you in fight or flight? Are you in rest and digest? And we start with a program like that. I think you're doing all the great things that you can. If you're doing those things, I think you're doing the great things. Next thing I would look at is, are you eating things that, although you may be plant-based, are you eating things that are still inflaming you? And that's very, very simple to find out.
Nice. I would imagine you can't really work with people virtually, right? Because you kind of have to touch them to adjust them.
During COVID, they started passing regulations that we could work with people virtually. And we did a little bit of that, but it's just, and I coach people, but it's much, much different. But in my practice, I want to feel your energy. I want you to feel my energy. And although we can have energy here, it's not the same as being in the office.
I hear you.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Kathy says, anybody here have receding hair? Well, you do, kind of.
Nope. I used to.
It completely receded, right?
It receded. It said, I'm getting the hell out of here.
What is the name of the nervous system test that you do?
So it's called heart rate variability. So you can go on to, there's a group called the Chiropractic Leadership Alliance. And you can find doctors all over America and the world who do that same testing as I do. I do the full complete package of it, but I do that because if I'm going to lead you to the next best decades, I have to start asking your body questions that you can't answer. For instance, are you like this, or are you like this? And it's not just a stance, it's actually what your nervous system is saying about you. So I have to find that stuff out. I have to find out, do you have enough energy in your body to actually run this wonderful machine called you? We got to find that out. I got to find out, are your muscles working like this, or are they working like this? I got to find out where. And so we find that out. So you can find that out. If you don't find that, just message me and I'll help you do that.
Wow. So how often do you drop a new podcast episode?
So I will drop I'll drop a couple a week. But I also do, for instance, like the one I did with you was approximately 40 minutes long. And so I'll drop those once a week, but then I also drop, I call them the 2MPs, the 2-minute podcasts, which are actually harder to do because you have to be really focused for 2 minutes. But I drop those, and those are, I would say those are much, much lighter, much more focused, and you can pop through those. I can pop through, a number of those a week. So those are very, very simple to do. And it gives people just a little different, time frame to be listening. They don't have to sit down for the whole 20 to 60 minutes 30 to 60 minutes. They can listen for 2 minutes, and sometimes that's all they need.
Yep, I always listen in 2.0, so it takes me half as long.
I can't think that fast. I'm not that smart.
I've just gotten used to it, so now when I listen to it at regular speed, it sounds really slow to me. So let's see, I saw a question here. I wanted to ask you, do you have a favorite podcast that you listen to?
Oh, I listen to a whole bunch of them. I listen to a bunch. Right now I'm listening to Dan Kennedy. It's on business marketing. And I will go through shifts where I'll listen to like all the podcasts and that. So I'm listening to a whole bunch of him. It's a very, very business oriented one. And then I will look around for people that I'm inspired by. And I will go find the podcasts that they're on. So I will follow them. This is the way I read also. I will get books like like Caldwell Esselstyn's or Dan Beitner's. I will read those, and I'll read like 3 or 4 of those. Then I'll read one on rock and roll. And then I'll read intense ones about polyvagal theory. I'll read about the nervous system, about how to optimize human beings for the next 120 years. Then I'll go read something on rock and roll, just so I can take time out of my brain also. So I'll go listen, after I listen to Dan Kennedy's, and I'll take notes on these, because that's what I do. I'll go listen to some stuff on rock and roll for a while, the top songs for a while, just so I don't have to think for a while.
What do you do for fun or to unwind?
I will, I'll play this for a little while. So I play guitar, I write music. And that's, I like to do that. I was thinking, one of those things in your life that if you didn't have them, how not you would your life be? And one of them is music. And I just love music. And so I spend a lot of time listening to music. And for me, that's the way for me to ramp up and a way for me to unwind.
Wow. Laurel says, do you adjust the thyroid?
I don't adjust thyroid. Actually, it's kind of a misnomer. I adjust patients who have thyroid problems, and my whole job is to optimize you. And so that's my focus on that. And that's my ideology. Is I have many people come in with certain problems. I don't focus on that. I focus on optimizing you, and we can help clear that up also. I will tell you that's not a great, I wouldn't say I'm really good at that, but for thyroids, because it's a level of education I don't have.
Right. Do you eat a lot of fresh fruit?
Fresh fruit, not much. A lot of vegetables. I had to go find, once again, once you start on this pathway, you start learning how what else you can.
If
you find out what
you can take it.
Nope. You find out what else is out there. And so I planted collard greens for the first time in years. First of all, super simple to grow. Brussels sprouts, super simple. Brussels sprouts are great because you can actually, this is me, I can forget about them. And up here in the Northeast, they can last until after the first frost. So it's like, they're like, holy cow, I've still got plants out there. That's incredible. Right. So that's the ideal plant for me, one I can actually forget about. But collard greens are fantastic. I eat a ton of that stuff. Kales, men's and men's, real fresh kales are great. But I use a ton of greens, and just my favorite. The fresh fruits, the only ones I'm going to be big on are probably apples, because they grow a ton of apples right here, and I could eat it. That's probably my favorite dessert, is a big crunchy apple.
Wow. Do you have a favorite apple? Mine is called Envy.
Envy. I've seen Envies. Mine's the Cortland, because I'm in Cortland, New York. So I can get them grown. They're grown right there. And like the big ones are about that big, and they snap when you eat them. It's like, oh, they got the bitter and the sour and the sweet right there. That's my favorite one by far.
That's so cool. Hey, Susanna says, will you play us something on the way out?
I would, but I don't want people smashing their computers.
I think you underestimate yourself.
I'm being honest.
And so is your office located in Cortland, New York?
Yeah, very simple. It's Janke Family Chiropractic. Feel free to message me, email me, contact me if you have any questions. I consult with people from all over America, and I'm honored to do so, and honored that you would ask me to help in any way for your next best decades.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. It was really a pleasure talking to you. Do you have time to watch anything like on Netflix or things like that, or you don't do that?
I love doing that. I'm going to tell you that I'm very, so over break, I watched the last double James Bond film, the last one. And I was like, I was kind of sad by it, to tell you the truth. I'm a big James Bond fan. And so I will watch, my wife goes away for like a week or two, and I get to watch all the stupid films that she won't watch with me.
Right. Did you happen to see Don't Look Up?
I saw Don't Look Up. I got to tell you that I had to watch it. I had to start it 3 times because I just didn't get the humor right away. Once I got into humor, it's like, okay, now I get it.
It might be very prophetic.
A little too prophetic, especially with the asteroid that's coming near America, near Earth.
Yeah. Well, you are certainly popular, and you seem like you'd be such a not just a good doctor, but like a fun doctor to see.
One of my rules is this. And so someone said this to me the other day, AJ, was that they said, boy, you never seem like you have a bad day. Well, of course I have bad days. Sometimes sometimes it just rains. You know what I mean? It just rains. And people say, how come you're always so happy then? I said, well, because two reasons. One is, how many times would you want to come see a doctor who was miserable? I mean, it's just, I think we have a phone call here. It's
yeah. Maybe they're calling already to make an appointment. Operators are standing by.
But the other thing is that for me to help you to get better, we need to raise your energy level. And so I can't come into the room to help you if my energy level is lower than yours. I'm actually going to make your condition worse. So when I come into the room, the first thing I ask you is, AJ, tell me something great about you today. I'm going to ask you literally every single time I see you, AJ, tell me something great about you today. Even if you're like, well, I'm not quite sure, even just by me asking you that, your blood pressure is lowered a little bit, heart rate a little bit, cholesterol a little bit, your immune system has gone up a little bit, just by doing that. Then if I put my hands on you, we actually raise you up even that much more. And now we're ready to rock.
Wow. People say they love your energy and vibration and your attitude. Do you have any pets?
We've had greyhounds for 20 years, ex-racing greyhounds. And this last guy, we bring into the office with me. And I got to tell you that just absolutely most phenomenal. We've had 6 cats along the way, but they're in trouble right now. 2 of them are in trouble. I don't want to talk about it, but our greyhounds are just the greatest we've ever had.
And you know what, people, they're kind of lazy. I mean, when they're not racing, they're some of the laziest dogs I've ever met.
They are 45-mile-per-hour couch potatoes. They sleep all damn day long. That's all they do. But ours is we've had the best ones, and it's been, I'm gonna tell you honestly, it's been brutal when they pass, but that's only because we love them so much.
Yeah, well, that's great. You seem like a really fun doctor, so I'd see you if I lived closer.
I might be. You never know.
Okay, moving to California. That's amazing.
You never know. You never know.
Where were you born?
Right here, Cortland, New York.
And you never left. That's amazing.
I've traveled around a bunch, but I always knew I'd come back here, and I always knew what my mission and vision was going to be. So I knew I was going to be back here. So
you're the rock and roll doctor.
I'm the Doc of Rock.
Doc of Rock. I love it. Well, you are just a delight. Thank you so much for being vegan and for inspiring other people to be healthy as well.
AJ, I appreciate your time, your love, and your expertise.
All right. Thank you so much. And thanks all of you for watching another episode of Chef AJ Live. Please come back tomorrow when we're having a cooking demo from Twyla's Table. And there are recipes in the show notes that Dr. Janke personally submitted because he loves them. And you cook, right? You know how to cook.
I cook. I do. I'm not saying it's always good, but I'm great at following recipes. I'm a chemist. I'm not a cook. I'm a chemist.
All right. And much more. Thanks so much, Dr. Janke. Thanks for